Hi, welcome to the FilmCrop channel. Today I'm going to tell you about a 2014 disaster movie called Into the Storm. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and support me with a like. That way the channel will grow. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Teenagers sitting in a car during a heavy rainstorm. Lightning is striking the streetlights. The cameraman gets out of the car to film what is happening and sees horrible tornadoes in the air. A little later, their car is caught in the middle of the storm, their car spinning in the air as the windows fly out. In the morning, the news reports on the victims we saw. It was a violent tornado with severe effects. A group of people ride in the car to film the tornado and recall previous incidents that have happened in their state. The news reports on another tornado coming across 4 states at once. Teenager Donnie Fuller turns on the camera and records a video message to himself from the future to see how things will be. He's 2 years away from graduating high school, and he's the head of a video club, something he's proud of. He shows his apartment and his brother Trey Fuller. Downstairs, Donnie shows his father Gary, the deputy of Silverton High School. He asks not to be filmed, even though he himself has offered to document everything for the time capsule that will be opened in 25 years. Gary fears a storm will derail the entire graduation ceremony. Trey turns on the camera and once again talks about himself for the time capsule. Donnie is upset by his father's behavior, who is cold to him and refuses to take the car ride. He will ride his bicycle. Gary tries to at least explain to Donnie that it's okay, but he won't listen to his father and leaves for school. Jacob Hodges, meanwhile, shoots his crew, with whom they will have to capture the tornado. Allison Stone tries to explain to Pete Moore that this is a new storm, unlike the others, and they shouldn't go directly to its epicenter. But Pete is frustrated that they haven't filmed anything good in 3 months, plus they've stopped being funded, and Pete is paying for everything himself. Pete asks Daryl Carley, one of the band members, which option he likes better. Daryl says he trusts Allison's gut, since she has a degree. They go to Silverton. In the meantime, the guys are filming their friend riding an ATV with a camera on his head. They're chasing views on YouTube. He has to jump over a burning pool but falls right into it. The pool breaks and the guy falls to the ground. The friends rejoice and believe the video will go viral. The stuntman's mother runs out of the house and is angry about the pool breaking, and the other guys notice the film crew's truck going to Silverton. And Pete is already in full swing showing off the power and equipment of their camera truck. 24 cameras, bulletproof glass, lots of sensors, but his main feature are the support claws. They will keep them on the ground even at 270 kilometers per hour. The car also has a tower from which they plan to capture the eye of the tornado. Jacob films Allison talking to her young child named Grace. Donnie films his father getting beaten up by headmaster Tom Walker, and Trey gets caught in the lens, also filming something for the time capsule. They're left to film almost all the interviews with people, and Trey even films the chemistry teacher's breasts. It seems to him that this should not go unnoticed. Trey sees Donnie's sweetheart named Caitlin Johnson and asks to speak to her. She is clearly upset about something. It turns out that his brother's concern was just a desire to play a joke on Donnie, and Trey surreptitiously films his brother trying to have an awkward conversation with his lady of the heart. She needed to relay important information about environmental issues in her report, but her videotape file got corrupted. Donnie offers his help, because he has special equipment for this purpose. Even though he's supposed to be filming the graduation ceremony, he agrees to help with the filming right now, because it's a deadline. Now Trey will be doing the prom all by himself. Trey films his friends playing basketball, men working on a construction site, a cheerleader who wishes she was from the future to marry Rich, Chester, a Silverton resident who thinks the world will go to hell from bombs in 25 years, and one of the school's best students with his message to the future. Pete tries to find batteries for the camera, but Jacob has left them at the hotel. They'll have to go back for the batteries and make it before the storm hits, which will be there in an hour, if not less. Trey is filming prom preparations and his father, who can't find Donnie. He doesn't believe Trey can completely film the entire ceremony. Allison calls her mom on Skype to check on how she and Grace are doing together. The news says that the tornado has already hit Riverside. The team decides to leave Allison alone to go to Riverside, but heavy golf ball-sized hail begins outside the window. Now the storm is coming to Silverton as well. Donnie never makes it to the ceremony because he's filming his sweetheart. They even manage to exchange compliments. Team Pete films the incipient storm where those crazy bloggers are carrying on. The tornado has a body forming, and it's looming over the city. It starts raining heavily at the prom, and the students run out of there in a panic. The tornado sweeps away everything in its path. Pete's team drives right into the path of the tornado to film the very epicenter. The car claws away and Pete climbs into the top of the cabin to film everything. Jacob screams in fear, but the tornado evades them. The tornado seems to be heading straight for the school. Pieces of trees fly into the school, shattering windows. The school is on alert, and everyone sits down in the hallway, covering their heads. Everything around collapses, including the ceiling. People are pulled right into the tornado, and the camera falls down. After the tornado passes by, the father calls Donnie and tries to find out where he is, but he doesn't pick up the phone. Then Gary calls from Trey's phone, but doesn't have time to tell him about the impending tornado because the connection cuts out. A minute later, Donnie and Caitlin witness the horror for themselves. They jump into the basement to escape somehow. Gary leaves the destroyed school in time to save his son, but goes outside and sees all the aftermath of the tornado. Everything is destroyed, trees, cars, in short, everything that was even standing there. Allison notices that another superstorm is headed for the city. Donnie and Caitlin get out of the rubble. The girl hurts her leg, but Donnie is not confused and quickly bandages the wound. Gary and Trey ride in the car and he finally tells them where Donnie has been. The father is perplexed as to why his son hasn't told him anything, to which Trey replies that it's not easy to have a heart-to-heart talk with him. They meet Chester's dog along the way, and later Chester himself sitting in the car. He asks the people who come to help to take care of Chester and runs back to the car. Donnie and Caitlin try to contact anyone to get out of the wreckage, but can't reach anyone. Pete's team spots two crazy bloggers in town who have managed to get even more drunk and are waiting to be blown away by the tornado. Allison can't just leave them on the street and begs Pete to take them with him, because being in this condition, they will be killed by the tornado. Once again, the bloggers film a tornado appearing right in front of them, sucking everything into itself. Everyone starts to scatter and a passing Gary and his son run out of the car to rescue Allison, who is flying into the tornado. He holds her all the way and she almost flies away, but luckily for her, the tornado stops. Jacob wants to go home because they just almost died, but Daryl reassures him because they will make a lot of money. Gary asks Pete to help with getting Donnie out of the factory, and Allison joins him because she knows what it's like to be a parent. Pete agrees and takes Trey with him in the car, promising him $3,000 to keep filming. Donnie continues to bandage Caitlin's wound. The girl is very worried that no one will find them in time, but Donnie reassures her. Gary talks to Caitlin about life and mentions his wife's death. They discuss parenthood and their children. Donnie, meanwhile, tells Caitlin about his mother and how he never talked to her properly before she was in a car accident. Two crazy bloggers ride around on a motorcycle with cameras to film the tornado again. Trey climbs into the tower on his car and films with his camera. Pete calms a nervous Jacob down. Trey finds the starting tornado. There are now 4 of them. Allison says the storm is too unpredictable and they should get out of there. The tornadoes are still as strong and demolishing everything in their path. 2 crazy bloggers get caught in the middle of a tornado and their camera goes off. The car with Allison and Gary overturns and Pete and his team stop to rescue them, but the tornado comes right at them. Trees fall in their path and they decide to take shelter in the church. Jacob tries to get his camera with the footage, but gets caught in a fire tornado and dies. There's a reason he was so afraid to keep going. Gary isn't going to stick around the church while his son is in danger. Allison wants to talk him out of the idea, but remembering how she would behave if her child were there, decides to help Gary and asks Pete to help them. But he sits there in shock, not understanding anything. Allison blames Pete for Jacob's death, but Daryl remembers his last conversation and pulls the blanket of guilt over himself. He stays and tries to tell Jacob's parents what happened. Meanwhile, Donnie and Caitlin's pipe near them bursts and they get flooded. The teens still have no connection to ask for help in any way. They are submerged up to their chests in water. Gary sees a car with survivors, but Donnie and Caitlin are not in it. Gary gets a message from Donnie, who screams about the factory being flooded. Donnie films Caitlin's last words, and she films Donnie apologizing to his father for their quarrel and wishing his brother all the best. With tears in his eyes, Donnie apologizes to his father for everything. Gary and Allison are already driving up to the site and hear a voice and under the ground, but they can't move the wreckage of the building at all. Trey is not lost and accelerates his car to take down the iron beam. They manage to save Caitlin, but here Donnie gets his foot caught in the iron debris and is chained to the bottom. The father dives to his son and cuts the rope that holds the metal splinter with a knife. He manages to pull Donnie out, and his father gives him CPR in time to save his son at the last second. Gary hugs the kids and tells them how much he loves them. Pete pulls up to help them and invites them into his car. It turns out that the strongest tornado, the strongest ever, is coming to town. Gary and Pete's team go to the school to bus everyone away. The school principal resists, but after hearing Allison's words, he quickly changes his mind. People are put on buses and drive away from there while the whole school gets sucked into a huge tornado. An accident happens on the road, but they don't have time to stop, because every second the tornado is rapidly catching up with them. Donnie tells his father where to stop to enter the storm drain. But the door to it is closed and Gary asks for a crowbar to open the hatch and get in. A cistern flies into their bus, which means something will soon fly into the others as well. After they all get inside, they close the hatch and see the tornado take everything in its path, the planes, the truckers with their cargo, all spinning like a waltz. But the grate is about to fall off and they all get blown down the chimney toward the tornado. The hatch is blown away by the wind, too. Pete sacrifices himself, handing Gary all the flash drives with the information one last time. He gets in the car and holds the hatch with it. He lets his claws go into the ground, but they don't hold him at all and Pete asks for a rope from the truck to something inside the drain. Does Pete have any chance of survival? There's the tornado itself looming over their manhole. We're about to find out. People almost get blown outside, but the tornado quickly passes and Pete is left alive. Allison asks what it was, to which Pete says it was just the eye of the tornado. It gets even harder next. The tornado comes with renewed vigor. Pete's car slowly gets clawed off and flies into the air. Meanwhile, Gary almost flies into the hatch hole, but still hangs onto the drain ladder. Pete's car soars high into the sky, but then plummets and crashes to its death. The tornado finally ends. Donnie and Caitlin hug while Gary hugs Trey. The news reports that the tornado is over. Trey films his basketball player friend again, who completely changes his mind and instead of wishing for money and girls in the future, he says that none of that matters, the important thing is that they are alive. Chester talks all the same pessimistic stuff, but at the end he says that people will always help you in your time of need, which may mean that there is hope in his heart. Allison says that she and Pete never really got along, but she knows what he woke up in the morning for and what he gave his life for. Gary talks about how glad he and his children are alive and will have something to remember 25 years from now when the time capsule is opened. He hugs his sons, and we understand, they're definitely going to be fine. Two crazy bloggers wake up in a tree and say that they are sure to get rich, because all the footage on the camera remains intact.